Oh, my ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, February 23rd. It is, as you may imagine, the year of 2012, and this is Day 9 Daily number 424. It's Newbie Thursday. What? It's Newbie Thursday, where we learn to be a better gamer. It's not Newbie Tuesday, it's Newbie Thursday, because interestingly enough, my computer died in the middle of Wednesday, right? And ordinarily, we were doing Newbie Tuesday, but I couldn't do a show. It's like the only time I think it's ever happened. I'm just like, nah, I just can't do it. I'm dead. I'm gonna die. Can't do a show. So to avoid death, we didn't have a show on Tuesday. And I was ready to go on Wednesday. I was totally ready to rock, all right? I was so prepared. Oh, God. I probably shouldn't pump myself up that much because I'm about to do yesterday's show. But I was so ready to go, and my computer just turns off. It just goes away. And when I turn it back on, it says, please insert boot device and press any key to continue. And you know what happened when I pressed any key? Not a damn thing. As it turns out, there was some sort of complete and total corruption on my boot drive, which basically means that I couldn't get access to the hard drive, like, at all. Like, the hard drive was just gone. Like, it was weird. It would recognize it, so I could reinstall Windows on it, but I had a real hard time trying to get files off it. I had to, like, plug it into another computer, and even then, I could only get some of the files off. I don't know what happened to it. I honestly, I'm just going to blame something external, like, you know, like aliens. It's probably aliens. But after all the stress passed, I sort of reformatted everything. I saved all my music. Yeah! All the original HD recordings of the daily were lost. Bleh. However, a lot of those are online, so that's okay. And there's this weird thing that happens when you reformat a computer. I'm literally on the same computer, totally reformatted. Everything is brand spanking new on the Windows side. But now you're paranoid, right? Your computer tanked. Your computer totally went to shit. So what do? Every time there's something that freaks you out, or every time there's anything minor, you're just, apparently it's really an emotional thing to lose a computer. I'd kind of experienced this before, but I forgot because I spend all my time at a computer. And so when it goes away, it's like heartbreak, you know? It's like when that wonderful person you're dating dumps you and they always wore yellow shirts, and every time you see a yellow shirt, you're like, you get that. So, like, I got the install working, I turned my computer on, and my two monitors are black, right? There's two monitors I do the daily with. Here's StarCraft over here, and here's you. This is where the live chat is that I read and all my encoder jazz. I also have a 32-inch HD TV to my right that I watch Supernatural on, because I'm a man, and it's a really good show. And I want to fix Dean. He's a good guy. He's just damaged. I watched it on this thing, and I also have that plugged in. And when I turned it on, my two monitors were black. And I actually almost passed out. I was like, I'm not gonna do a daily ever again. I was so stressed out that it wasn't even that there was like a cursor blinking on a command prompt. It was just gone. It was totally, oh my god. This is just after I installed the drivers for my graphics card. So I realized that the login story, or the login screen for my Windows was actually just on this HGTV turned off. It was just off. So I turned it on, and there's the login screen happily waiting for me. I had about 30 minutes of heart attack, right? And now every time anything goes wrong, like I went to bed and I woke up in the morning and my computer was off. And I was like, I was so panicked. And then I realized that, of course, on a fresh install, the default is just go to sleep after 30 minutes. But everything seems cool now. Okay, which means it's time to do a daily. At least it's not as bad as the time when I just accidentally tapped the power button on my computer and it just turned off. I thought there was someone like messing with my computer from afar. Nothing nearly that bad. Nothing like my computer turning off to freak me out. Let's talk about today's topic on Newbie Thursday! Newbie Thursday! Yeah! Last week's Newbie Tuesday introduced the idea of an adjustment. The fundamental tool that we use between games to improve ourselves is adjusting. I don't want to use the word changing. Changing is a little too big. Adjusting is the correct term. Something as simple as I pushed with 1 immortal, but it seemed like I needed more. Next time I push, I'm going to attack with 2 immortals. Really simple adjustment helps me figure out what the hell's going on. Or it helps me arrive closer to my endpoint. We don't want to do a huge change like I attacked with immortals, it didn't work. Maybe I should just be going Colossus instead of immortals. Those are the things we want to avoid. Being stubborn in StarCraft 2 strategy terms is a great thing. That's really, really good. One of the most stubborn players, strategy-wise, is Naniwa. He has the most amazing set of answers for everything, because he doesn't do big changes, he does tons of little tiny adjustments. And again, stubborn is a good word. It's a good trait to have strategy-wise, to stick with something for a little bit long. So we're going to be talking quite a bit about adjustment today. One thing I wanted to note is that in terms of a visual that I always use, I imagine, kind of like a rocky surface, that has all these slopes and valleys and stuff, and we just set a marble on there, and this marble is you, and we just let our losses and wins guide us down to a point where we can settle. Sure, there'll be periods where we're going up and down and we're still in crazy motion and stuff, but the idea is we want to get to a point where we settle. Every time you play a game of StarCraft 2, whether you win or you lose, that's your little marble moving forward a little bit. So in a sense, the more games you play, the better. It's great to play tons of games. Worried about losing? Don't. Losing's awesome. You should be like, God, I had the awesomest loss. It's like the more crushingly horrible your game goes, that should be more like, well, I'm not going to stay anywhere close to this strategy. I'm going to adjust hard. So feel free to just play a lot. Ignore that ladder anxiety. And remember, as I say all the time and can never say enough, your rank and ladder is not a measure of skill. It is a measure of progress. Too many people think, oh, God, I don't want to be put in the gold league because then that makes me look bad. It doesn't make you look bad at all. It's the equivalent of saying, yeah, I ran 2 miles, but I'm more like someone who can run 8 miles. Doesn't mean anything, right? I'm not a gold player who really can play at platinum level. That doesn't mean anything at all. Just play a lot. The matchmaking system is there to help you find yourself some good even matches. Yeah, cool. Now, we're going to begin with this game from a gentleman by the name of Drowsy. And we're going to watch this game. And I think that his comment on his own game was a wonderful statement of adjustment. Before we do any of talking about what Drowsy emailed me, we are instead just going to talk about if this was a game we saw for the first time ever. A game that we had seen for the first time ever. And we're just going to sort of look around. Now, one thing to note, in any game of StarCraft 2, GSL Code S champion or bronze guy who's played RTS games for 2 weeks because he's been Amish his whole life. I don't care what end of the spectrum you're on, there's a lot to work on in every game. A ton, an overwhelming amount. That's why in this daily we're focusing on one adjustment, just one. So I'm going to power through this game at something like ×4-ish speed. Also, one thing that's tragic is that everyone submitted their games on 1.4.2, and then the 1.4.3 patch came out, so now StarCraft's like, we're going to log you off Battle.net. Are you ready to log back in Battle.net? We're going to log you off Battle.net. It makes me want to rip my face off. But fortunately, I'm not going to do that because I do enjoy doing the daily. Alright, Drowsy. Opening up, it looks like with a 3-gate. After he gets his 2 gas, seems like a totally reasonable opening. He's poked in, and come here, probe. In the Drowsy cam, we see he's pretty much seen a bunker. He's seen this sort of thing. Drowsy's expanding. He's getting sentries up. I will say, strategy-wise, this is a fine strategy. There's nothing wrong with this strategy-wise, opening up 3-gate and going for sort of a sentry-heavy opening. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me actually hop over here to the Drowsy cam for a moment. As we see him getting these gateways, the game is actually almost done. Now let's start thinking of some adjustments in our head. How would we want to do it? Looks like we're missing some probes here and there. Yeah, it looks like that could be an issue. I mean, hell, if we come to the worker count, it looks like we actually 31 workers at 9 minutes is a little bit low. Let's ignore what our opponent's doing, but just in general, this is a little bit low, so that's something. I'm also seeing that we Drowsy have a lot of gas we're not spending. Maybe we should be figuring out a way to spend that. This forge, should I be getting this earlier or later? Okay, here comes our units into the center of the map. And we start pulling back because we saw that he had a bunch of dropships. These dropships arrive in our main, they stim, and they kill us all off. There you go. And that's how Drowsy ends up losing the game. Now, what are some adjustments that you would consider making? And I'm happy to take some from the chat, so if you want to type them, type them. Tap them up! Tap them up! Do that sort of thing. So here's some adjustments that I can think of. Well, I went for a robo-based strategy. Maybe I should be going for an early expand, and I should follow it up with Stargate. Maybe if I build a forge, I should be just automatically making a cannon. Maybe I should do... what are some other adjustments I could make? Maybe I should be getting my Colossus faster. I should get a robo before my gateways. That way, I can end up getting the Colossus up quickly enough. Now, some people are saying things like, scout the opponent's base. Now, scouting the opponent's base is not... I want it to be a little bit more than that. I scout him, and if I see a lot of Marines, then blank. Yeah, we're seeing some people like Plyce says we could put some more Zealots, we could do some Guardian Shields. Robo faster for an observer to check out what's going on. Okay, cool. Here are all the adjustments that we have seen that seem pretty reasonable as we say them. However, in last week's Newbie Tuesday, the most important thing, no matter what sort of adjustment we make, is that we try to justify it as hard as possible. Not just thinking in this sliver of time, but thinking this sliver of time where the big action happened, but also everything leading up to it and everything that happens after it. So for instance, in this very moment of gameplay, as we pop on over here, in this very moment, as we look at this, if we ask ourselves, okay, having a Phoenix right now to kill off these medevacs would be great. But what if he simply pushed our front, right? We want to just start thinking about some other conditions. It's so easy to think 5 Phoenixes right now would have killed this very thing. But just think a little bit in the future, a little bit in the past in the game. Would Phoenixes help us in the later game? Would we use the Phoenixes earlier on, or would we die if we went Phoenixes? And especially in alternative realities. What if he was going for a 1-1-1 push? What if he was going for an attack at the front? And just sort of consider all these things. The reason I wanted to begin with this example from Drowsy is Drowsy looked at this and he made the smallest adjustment he could have possibly made. You don't need to adjust big. That is the big lesson I want to begin with. You don't need to adjust big, you need to adjust small as possible. What Drowsy comments on is that he moved out here because he was worried that his opponent was doing a 1-1-1. He saw no expansion yet, so he thought, ooh, maybe it's a 1-1-1. So very much in the Lord of the Rings style, Drowsy rode out to meet him. That is Lord of the Rings, right? I hope I'm getting my nerd lore accurate. He rode out in the middle to meet the 1-1-1, but no 1-1-1 arrived. So this huge drop ended up appearing in his main base. And there it goes down. Voila! Now, I want to just, before we go on and see Drowsy's adjustment game, I want to note a couple of things that potentially concern me about this situation that Rickster ended up in. He said that his opponent may have been doing a 1-1-1 because there was no expansion down. That seems like fine logic to me, but as we can actually see in this game, Drowsy has an observer in here. Drowsy's actually had an observer in here for quite some time. So I'm going to pull back here, and so this adjustment that Drowsy made is he said, His adjustment was, I'm going to leave one stalker at the watchtower, and the rest of my units I'm going to leave along the back rim of my base. I think that's wonderful. But I want him to go one extra step and just say it's because he saw his opponent doing something. Drowsy comes in here. His observer's a little bit delayed, and okay, now he sees what's up. And this is the point where he should begin moving his stuff to the backside upon seeing these medevacs. Drowsy made a very simple error that's nearly invisible to himself. That simple error was, I saw him doing a 1-1-1, and it turned out he was doing a drop in my main base. So I figure I'm just going to leave my stalkers in my main base next time. That all sounds fine, with the one exception that he had the observer in the base. So he should say, if I scout him not doing a 1-1-1, then I can do this kind of adjustment. This is a common problem we're going to look at all daily long, where there's some adjustments that are being made that I love. Brilliant adjustments made. But the reasoning can be sometimes a little skewed one way or a little skewed another way. The second example we're going to look at is a little bit more strategy-based. The first example we're going to look at is a little bit more of economy-based adjustments and some response-based adjustments. But what I want to do right now is hop into Drowsy's second game, and I want to admire how little he changes. Just how little his build actually deviates. And again, so annoying with the new patch. I gotta log in, and I'm gonna go to replays. I'm gonna click on Drowsy Game 2. Where are you, Drowsy Game 2? Aha! Yes, I want to load in. Bam! Now, this first part of the daily, the most important thing that we're going to talk about is how little everything else changes. Here's Drowsy spawning in the top position. Amazingly enough, Drowsy is in the exact same positions against another opponent, so this is great. I think his color is different, though. Alright, look at this. Building placement even the same. Let's go ahead and times 8 it, which means that we'll get a little bit stuttery for some of you on the stream, but that's okay. I won't times 8 past anything too important. Now Drowsy still makes a Zealot before his Cybernetics core. Doesn't adjust that at all. This little adjustment, it's very easy to forget about things like these. You think, oh my god, I needed stalkers at the back of my base, so that way I can hold off this drop. And then right from minute 3, you're thinking, oh god, I gotta get stalkers, I gotta get stalkers. No, just do the exact same thing with no other adjustments. It's very easy to fall a little bit too victim to your adjustment that you're making. To say something like, I lost to drops, I better not lose to drops anymore, and then you position your whole army back here, and then he attacks your front. You don't want to do anything too extreme. Look at this, Drowsy still getting a second gas. Drowsy still getting his extra gateways. Still investing in sentries. It looks like he does have another stalker. Same as before. Now he's expanding. Identical, identical, identical. He gets his 3 gateways. He gets 3 sentries with them. In a moment, he's going to be building a robotics facility. And the one adjustment that Drowsy is making is holding the watchtower with 1 stalker. Oh, look at that. Oh god, it's a wee little robot facility. What accent was that? I don't know. I'm so embarrassed. Now, Drowsy, look, he's even placing these 2 gateways right here. I love this. Why? What if some Hellions try to swing on in? This gives us a little bit of movement control with them. Exact same as what we saw last game. We even saw Forge pop up here last game. But we're seeing that everything that Drowsy's doing, he's starting to make stalkers now, exactly as he did before. And here's the 2 more gateway, or the observer popping in there. So, okay, cool. He sees, again, no expansion. He gets the sense of some drop stuff. And he's just going to leave everything back here. Small little adjustments. One thing that's making me a little bit concerned is that we see no forge here. That's something different that happened between these games. That's something that we want to worry about. But as you'll note, we have yet another Doom drop. But we already had all our units there, so we can easily position ourselves properly, warp in, and defend adequately. I'm also noticing the Immortals are making a cameo appearance in this game. A little bit bigger of an adjustment than I might necessarily like, but look at this. Clear, clean, simple, everything else is the same. And in particular, what I really like is that Drowsy has a solid game plan that he's going to follow along with, where he's just going to be getting Immortals with range and doing a push at the front in a nice, clean fashion. Hello, Colossus. Bam. Oh, Planetary Fortress of the National. That's pretty uncommon. Nice control by Drowsy. And he's going to end up winning the game in about a minute. And I will give him that honor of seeing him close out the game with his overwhelming forces. Boom. See ya later, alligator. Pow. Not a GG was seen that night. Now, I began with this example because it is so slight, that adjustment that Drowsy made. So slight. And in Game 2, what did we see? We saw a nice push. We saw a very nice push with Immortals, with Sentries, Stalkers, 2 Colossi with range. Drowsy is looking great. This looks very much so in the Master, Grandmaster range of play, quite honestly. Right composition, hell, even if I come to the worker count, 53 probes, really high on the workers. Maybe the only thing different is he could have gotten a Forge. It looks good. It looks great. If Drowsy had made too large an adjustment in that mid-game, this whole attack would be a lot harder to pull off. Very often, when you lose a game, your instinct is to make a big change. Don't do that. Make a nice little change, kind of the way that Drowsy did. Very small, confined change. Because what you'll discover is that if you can just deflect this and deflect that, and still go down this path you've practiced 100 times, you're going to be winning so much more. It's going to be wonderful, and you're going to feel cool. What was I going to say? The only thing that I would make sure is that when you think of your one adjustment, that you think it through all the way, and that you just state all the concerns that you're having. I'm worried he was going 1-1-1. Well, was that necessarily true, Drowsy? Well, it turned out not to be true. In the end, it turned out we just didn't need to worry about that. In the end, it turned out we could say something like, when the observer gets into his base, I'll have plenty of time to figure out the correct positioning to my army, and that's what I should look for. That's probably the better way to state it. But just make sure that all the simple statements you're making in your adjustment analysis are correct. And that's why I always say make sure the sentences are simple, because if you say it simply, it's very easy to attack your own statements and figure out